Imagine you're looking at the word door. 4 letters you've read thousands of times, and suddenly, click in your head, it turns into a meaningless jumble of squiggles. D-O-O-R. It sounds like a cough. It looks like a random combination of lines. You know this word means something, but the meaning vanishes, dissolves, as if someone erased the definition file from your brain. Or here's another. You're looking at your mother's face, a woman you've seen tens of thousands of times, and suddenly, it's the face of a stranger. The features are the same, but something is fundamentally off. Like an actress playing the role of your mother. You remember it's your mom, but your brain refuses to recognize her. This isn't a metaphor for fatigue. It's a real cognitive phenomenon. Jamais vu. In French, never seen. The opposite of déjà vu. And while almost everyone has experienced déjà vu, few have heard of jamais vu. Yet studies show that 30 to 40% of people have gone through it at least once in their lives. The question is simple. How does the brain recognize the familiar at all? You open your eyes in the morning and automatically know it's your bedroom. No analysis, no comparison to a database. You just know. But what happens when this mechanism breaks down? A skeptic might say, just tired, distracted, brain glitch. But what if jamais vu isn't a bug, but a window? A window into how reality is actually structured. What if the familiar, the routine, the homey, is an illusion the brain creates for your comfort? And jamais vu is the moment the illusion crumbles. And you see the world as it truly is, absolutely, hopelessly, terrifyingly alien. There's an experiment that can induce jamais vu right now, in you, in 30 seconds. And there's a person, a great writer, who suffered from it chronically. He lost words, permanently, one by one. Imagine you're a professional writer, and your main tool, language, slowly turns into white noise. But first, we need to understand what happens in the brain when the familiar becomes alien. Take a pen. Write the word door 30 times in a row. Door, 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 door. Don't stop. Write quickly, mechanically, like a school kid being punished. Door, door, door. 2006. University of Leeds. Psychologist Chris Moulin gives participants this exact task. A simple English word. 4 letters. Write it 30 times. What could go wrong? Around the 20th repetition, something strange starts. 68% of participants report the same thing. The word begins to feel wrong. Not a typo, not a mistake, but fundamentally alien. As if it's not even an English word. As if someone took random letters and mashed them into a meaningless combo. D-O-O-R. What does this even mean? Why should these sounds denote an opening in a wall? This is called semantic satiation. When a word's meaning temporarily breaks down from repetition. But why? 2010. Researchers Tian and Huber scan people's brains as they repeat words. They see activity in the left temporal lobe, the area linking sound to meaning, drop by 40%. Neurons get fatigued. The sound-meaning connection temporarily snaps. The word becomes just noise. A string of phonemes without content. And this happens in 200 milliseconds, a fifth of a second. And you stop understanding a word you've known your whole life. The skeptic says, "Yeah, neurons tired from repetition. Makes sense." Fine. But then the question, why don't you get tired of your own heartbeat? It beats 100,000 times a day, every day, your whole life. Why don't you stop feeling it? Why don't you stop recognizing your own name, which you hear thousands of times? Why is Jamais selective? Why does it target the semantic layer? Not the physical, not the sensory, but the meaning? Because recognizing meaning isn't passive reading. It's active construction. The brain doesn't just receive a word. It decides anew, every time, what it means. And if that decision process glitches, the word turns to void. Now another question. If it works with words, does it work with faces? 2010. Psychologist Giovanni Caputo. An experiment with mirrors. The instruction is simple. Sit in a dimly lit room. Stare at your reflection. 10 minutes. Don't look away. After 7 minutes, 66% of participants stop recognizing themselves. They see a stranger's face, or a monster, or emptiness. Your own face, the most familiar object in the world, becomes utterly alien. Now imagine, what if you're not looking at yourself, but at another person? 12%. That's how many patients on topiramate, an anti-epileptic drug, report a bizarre side effect. They write in FDA reports, "My home looks like a movie set. My husband seems like an actor playing my husband." Not a metaphor. Literal sensation. The person functions, remembers everything, knows it's their apartment, their family, but the brain refuses to recognize. Knowledge is there, recognition isn't. Pharmacologically induced Jamais 2006. Case of a 23-year-old woman. Temporal lobe epilepsy. After a seizure, she wakes in her own apartment and doesn't recognize it. For 4 hours, she wanders the rooms like a tourist, touches the furniture, opens cabinets. Everything is familiar on a memory level and utterly foreign on a perceptual one. The mechanism is straightforward. Glitch in the perirenal cortex, the object recognition zone. Hippocampus works fine, memory intact, but the link is broken. The brain remembers but doesn't recognize. It's like knowing song lyrics by heart, but not hearing the melody. Now the extreme form. Capgras syndrome. People are convinced their loved ones have been replaced by imposters. Not delusion, not pure paranoia. It's Jamais plus the brain's attempt to explain the contradiction. The face is recognized. Visual cortex functioning, but emotional response absent. Limbic system silent. No warmth, no sense of mine. And the brain concludes, if I don't feel it, it's not her. It's a swap. Perfect logic. False premise. But here's what's scary. What if Jamais reveals that familiarity isn't a property of the object? It's a brain product. We don't recognize the world. We rebuild it, anew each time. And if the rebuilding mechanism breaks, the world falls into alien fragments. Then the question, what's primary? Reality, or our recognition of it? Chris Frith, from University College London, found the answer. Jamais is a desynchronization of two brain systems. The hippocampus, memory storage, says, "I know this, seen it 1,000 times." The perirenal cortex, recognition system, replies, "I'm seeing this for the first time. Data doesn't match." The lag between them is just 200 milliseconds, a fifth of a second. But it's enough. Cognitive dissonance arises. Two brain parts can't agree, and you freeze before a familiar word, like before a hieroglyph. Imagine an orchestra, 86 billion neurons. Usually, they play in sync. The melody of recognition flows smoothly. You see your mother's face and instantly know. But jamais is when the violins lag the cellos by half a second. Same notes, same musicians. But the melody collapses. You hear cacophony. And the skeptic says, just a technical glitch, like a computer bug. Reboot, and it's fine. Yes, exactly. But computer glitches sometimes reveal its architecture. What's hidden during normal operation? Jamais exposes reality is a consensus among brain parts. When consensus breaks, reality crumbles. Not metaphorically, literally. You look at a door and see an object without a name, without function, without history. Now add stress. Stanford University study, 2019. Under severe stress, jamais happens 3.7 times more often. Mechanism simple. Cortisol, the stress hormone, suppresses hippocampus function. Brain in survival mode. Conserving resources. Sacrifices familiarity. Because in a crisis, spotting threats matters more than recognizing the routine. Evolution chose, better mistake your own for alien than alien for your own. But then the question, what if jamais isn't a breakdown, but an ancient mechanism? Raw perception mode. When the brain shuts off predictions and shows data unfiltered. The world as it is, before you overlay meanings. And what if some people have learned to induce this state deliberately? Buddhist monks have done it for 3,000 years. Vipassana practice, insight meditation. You sit, focus on breath, repeat a mantra, 100 times, 1,000, 10,000, and at some point, words lose meaning. Breath stops being breath. It becomes just sensation. Air in, air out, no story, no label. Monks call it destruction of automatic perception. Western neuroscience calls it semantic satiation. But the essence is the same. You deliberately break the link between object and meaning. To see the object without imposed concepts. The world before words. Analayo, a researcher of Buddhist meditation, describes it in his 2003 book. He writes, "Monks aim for a state where every moment is perceived as utterly new. No habit, no recognition, just pure presence. Jamais vu as spiritual practice." Now shift to Germany. 1927. Martin Heidegger writes Being and Time and describes a state he calls Unheimlichkeit. In Russian, it's translated as uncanniness, but literally, unhomeliness. The moment when the familiar world suddenly turns alien. You're walking your street, and it feels like a set. You're sitting in your room and wonder why these things are here. You look at your life and see an absurd construct. Heidegger says this isn't pathology. It's a breakthrough to authenticity. Because homeliness is illusion. We tame the world, overlay it with a grid of meanings, name things, assign functions, and forget it's all our invention. Unheimlichkeit is when the invention crumbles, and you see the world as it is, fundamentally strange, unexplainable, alien. Jamais vu as existential revelation. But can you live in this state constantly? Vladimir Nabokov, the writer, synesthete, language genius, suffered chronic jamais vu with words. His biographer Brian Boyd describes in his 1990 book, Nabokov could look at the word blue, and it stopped meaning a color, turned into sounds, meaningless, like a cough. He wrote, "The word breaks into letters, letters into lines, and I don't understand how it can mean anything at all." It tormented him, slowed his work. He could get stuck on one sentence for hours because words lost weight. But perhaps that's what made him great. Because he didn't trust language, didn't take words for granted, had to refill each one with meaning anew, renegotiate with reality every time. And his texts are traces of those negotiations. Paradox. Jamais vu destroyed his ability to write, and simultaneously forced him to write more precisely, deeper, stranger. Bug or feature? The brain usually runs in prediction mode. You don't see the world. You see the brain's expectations of it. It saves energy, fills in the picture from templates. Jamais vu is a prediction failure. The moment the template doesn't work, and the brain must look at data directly. Raw perception, unfiltered. Buddhists seek this. Heidegger saw truth in it. Nabokov suffered it. But the question remains, can you live in jamais vu mode constantly without going mad? Turns out, you can. 2% of the population lives this way for years. They have a name for it. Depersonalization. Chronic jamais vu. Not a seconds-long episode. Not a word glitch. But constant feeling that the world is a set. That you're an actor in someone else's play. They function. Go to work, talk, smile. But inside, emptiness of recognition. A 2009 Sierra study showed their insula activity is down 30%. The insula handles self-awareness, the sense of I am, When it's quiet, you look at your hands and wonder if they're yours. Anonymous testimony from a clinical database. I hug my daughter and feel a cardboard doll. I look in the mirror and see a stranger mimicking my moves. I live in an aquarium, world behind glass. I hear it, see it, but don't touch. Not a metaphor. Neurobiological reality. Rift between cognitive and emotional knowledge. You know it's your daughter, but don't feel it. The skeptic says, this is just depression. Or schizophrenia. No. In depression, the world is heavy, gray, but real. In schizophrenia, the world is too real, filled with meanings, signs, voices. In depersonalization, the world is empty of reality, exhaled, unreal. Jamais vu at the level of being. And here a strange parallel emerges. Physicist John Wheeler, one of quantum mechanics creators, spoke of the electron this way. The electron becomes real only when we observe it. Before observation, it doesn't exist as a definite object. It's alien even to itself. Quantum indeterminacy. Jamais vu is the quantum indeterminacy of consciousness. Reality collapses into familiar only at the moment of recognition. When hippocampus and perirhinal cortex agree. When the orchestra of 86 billion neurons plays in sync. Before that moment, void. Alienness. Jamais vu. People with depersonalization live in a pre-collapse world. They see reality in its quantum state, indeterminate, unfamiliar, unresolved. And this raises the final question. What's primary, the world or our gaze on it? Does familiar exist without someone to recognize it? Jamais vu shows us the truth we desperately don't want to see. Familiar isn't a world property. It's a contract. Fragile, temporary, constantly renegotiated. Every second, 86 billion neurons vote, recognize or not. Hippocampus proposes, I remember this. Perirhinal cortex checks, I see it now. Prefrontal cortex verifies, logical in context. When all agree, world is familiar. When one system lags 200 milliseconds, jamais vu. Reality crumbles not because it changed, but because consensus broke. And that means something terrifying. The world you think stable is a neuronal democracy. By majority vote, every instant. Your home stays home only while neurons agree to call it that. Your face in the mirror stays yours only while the insula confirms, yes, that's me. Heidegger was right about unhomeliness. The world is fundamentally alien. Strange, incomprehensible. We just learn to ignore its strangeness. The brain builds familiarity illusion because you can't survive chaos of alienness. Jamais vu is when the illusion glitches, and you see the truth. Nothing is guaranteed. Recognition isn't given. It's achieved. Every time you open your eyes and know where you are, it's a small miracle of billions of cells coordinating. For those with chronic depersonalization, this isn't philosophy. It's a sentence. They live in a world where the contract is void forever, where every object demands proof of reality, where even their own hands seem like alien prosthetics. There's therapy, cognitive reintegration, EMDR. Sometimes SSRIs help, but no full cure. Because Jamais exposes what was always true. We don't recognize the world. We rebuild it. Constantly. Anew. And here's the final thought. Next time you see a familiar face and recognize it, pause for a second. Realize what just happened. 86 billion neurons synchronized. Memory met perception. Past confirm present. Consciousness's quantum indeterminacy collapsed into recognition. It wasn't guaranteed. It was a contract. That might not have happened. Jamais is a reminder. Every recognition moment is fragile. Familiar exists only while the brain agrees to create it. And the world is infinitely strange. We just agreed not to notice. Until the next glitch.